So, hello and welcome to the latest video, the latest episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast and also video. And I'm really happy to see you here again. And today we're going to discuss emotional intelligence and 10 ways to improve your self-awareness. And why I'm doing this, this is actually the second time or third time, to be precise, where I discussed this topic because everything went wrong. And you are actually able to see everything. Yes. So, why we discuss this, I think it's one of the most important things you have to learn in life is that you have to be self-aware. And what this means, or what I consider self-aware, is that you know what you are good at, you know what you are bad at, you know what you should do and what you shouldn't do, what's good for you and what's bad for you, and why you have certain emotions in certain scenarios. And it's just a lot of self-reflection, and this will come a little bit later in this article. And actually, before I forget to mention this, it's an article from thriveglobal.com from the 3rd of May 2018. And let's start with what is an emotion. Understanding what is an emotion is beyond the goal of this post, so if unsure, go to that article in Wikipedia. Even if you're sure that you are familiar with the term, I urge to go and check it out. Often people limit themselves with just a few high-level emotions and they cannot actually identify what exactly are they feeling. So let's see what Wikipedia is saying. Emotion is a conscious experience characterized by intense mental activity and a certain degree of pleasure and displeasure. Alright. Sorry. Do I have to go back here? Yes, it seems to be. But what is emotional intelligence then? Emotional intelligence in general is the ability to recognize emotions not only inside yourself but also inside others. And inside others, this is very important, and not very important for everyone, but this is very useful if you're, for example, a marketer, and if you know what other people are thinking or other people's emotions are, you have a really high value for this market, because you can target these groups very precisely if you really understand what they are feeling. There are, generally speaking, 4 loosely defined fields of study. Understanding and noticing your own emotions is called self-awareness. Being able to control your own emotions is called self-control. And understanding the emotions of others is called empathy. Empathy. And being able to influence the emotions of others is called social skills, which is a pretty broad term at my point of view. Do you see this? Yes. I'm sorry if I have to check if you see everything correctly, because I don't know where my cam is, unfortunately. So, the first step to improve your self-awareness, they say, is to go out of your comfort zone. And which I suggest as well, because if you go out of your comfort zone, you know what makes you feel a certain feeling. If you, for example, you have anxiety of heights, if this is called like this, and you go on a real big tower or something, and you know that this is the reason for why you're feeling this. And I think the more you go out of your comfort zone, the more you know, or I guess the more you know about yourself and about why certain feelings occur or come up in certain places or in certain scenarios. But let's see what they are saying. Have you heard that the magic happens outside the comfort zone? The same is true about emotions. People have the tendency to avoid discomforting feelings. That's true. That's why I take cold showers every single day, and it's good for you and it's good for me. But this is not a long-term solution. You should allow the feelings to surface and provide the information they carry. Instead of shoving the emotions away, you should guide yourself to it and through it. Ignoring feelings would only allow them to appear when least expected. That's totally true. And for example, also in a relationship, it's at my point of view the best thing to talk about stuffs that go on which might not be good immediately, because if you just say, yeah, we are talking about it some day later, or a week later, it will not be better, and there will nothing be better by just doing this. And so everything will exactly be much better, or much worse, much worse, because you haven't talked about it. And so this rubbing, this tensity, everything grows. It's like a snowball. At last but not least, getting out of the comfort zone is not that bad. The great minds of our present have daily tasks to do something unpleasant in order to expand their frontiers. With practice, you will soon discover that it's not that hard. And I would even say that if you do something unpleasant, you really, recognize what's pleasant and what you really like, and you enjoy this more, in my point of view. And you might consider this as well by yourself. Identify your triggers. A trigger is a person, a situation, or a condition that makes you emotional and prompts you to certain actions. It could be a show-off manager that feeds like a vampire from the energy of the others in the room, or a very noisy work environment, particularly when your colleagues like talking over the phone and you cannot concentrate. When your colleagues are talking over the phone. It could also be, for example, a very technical manager who lacks communication or people management skills. The typical response to these stimuli is a shutdown, especially if it happens at work, where emotional outbursts are considered taboo. But even if you enclose your emotions inside you, your body language will go screaming, and keen observer will notice it anyway. Identifying your trigger leads to improved emotional intelligence, because it would allow you to develop the ability to control the outcome. It could give you the skill to calm down. And if you know what triggers your emotions, and you're going right into this scenario, you really know it before, and so you can be like, I know what's happening right now, or will happen right now, and I know what I can do against it. And I know that it is coming, and it is never as worse. There's nothing worse than getting hit in the face unexpectedly. That's why it is great to know what triggers your emotions. I won't read this whole article or this whole part, but I'll be like this, and maybe you pause. And this is the opportunity you have when you're watching this as a video. Do not judge your feelings. It's complicated, I think, because everybody does, and everybody is used to doing it. But a feeling is a feeling, nothing more, nothing less. If you try to label your feelings as good or bad, or as positive or negative, you would lose the ability to regard them and be aware of them. And I would say feelings occur because of certain things, and it is what it is, and you might be able to change it, but for changing it you must know why you have these certain feelings, and for this you have to know what triggers them. And there we land at the point we had before. Nevertheless, you would lose the ability to regard them and be aware of them. It is in the human nature to judge things and separate them into those two big groups, but it is counterproductive. The bad feelings are automatically regarded as something that should be avoided at any cost. You do not want to feel them, and you may even want to get rid of them. You feel ashamed when you have a bad feeling, and shame is furthermore also labeled as negative. The good feelings, however, are automatically regarded as something that should be sought after. You want to feel them, and you may even reward yourself for having them, but you also let them run wild and then drain your energy. All those feelings come to life with a certain information that they carry. You feel content because you have achieved something, mournful because you lost something, frustrated because the reality is different from your expectations, excites because that family vacation is just around the corner. If you allow yourself to regard emotion just as what it is, you have the opportunity to understand it and find out what your mind is trying to tell you. That's a really great point. You just have to be clear that emotions are emotions, and nothing more and nothing less. And yeah, when you allow yourself not to judge emotions, they will run its course and vanish, and they will not take control of you. Also, thing is, if you judge your emotions and really take time to judge your emotions, you do not have the time to think about them, think about the triggers you have for them, and you just waste a lot of time by doing unnecessary stuff instead of using the time and to see what are the triggers, what I can do about it, can I even do about it, or just this thinking process. What does the time say? The time says 12 minutes, and that's fine. Don't make decisions in a bad mood, and you might experience it yourself. I use this phrase quite often, I think. But when you're in a bad mood, you tend to make bad decisions. So this is what I feel. And for example, if you're hungry, it's never good to go grocery shopping because you will buy way more than without being hungry. Because you just have the feeling right now, and we often just buy because of feelings, and but nevertheless, let's read what they're saying. Everybody has those situations in life when just everything goes into the wrong direction. Call it depression, call it feeling down, or just being unlucky. You feel that you cannot do anything right, and black veil comes down on all your thoughts. The problem here is that once a bad mood takes control over your brain, you lose the sight of the good part of your life. Suddenly you hate where you live, you hate where you work, you live. Sorry, you feel irritated by your colleagues. You could also be frustrated with your family, or just dissatisfied with yourself. That's true. If you're feeling bad, everything seems bad at the time. It's just what it is, and that's also a reason why you just make bad decisions in that in that mood, because everything seems bad, and you are not really clear-minded. Deep inside, you know that most of what you think is not completely true, but you cannot help get rid of that thoughts. Emotional intelligence through self-awareness teaches that you take notice of the situation and accept it as it is. You should be okay that you probably can do little to change the current conditions and just let it pass. What is most important here is that you should postpone any possible life-changing decisions until you are out of that zone. That's true. If if it's about grocery shopping, you can make it. Just might waste money, but there are just way worse scenarios you could be in and you could be thinking about. And you shouldn't make decisions in a good mood either. And I didn't know that, and I didn't really think about this. But it's true, because when you're good mooded, everything seems like a rainbow land, something, and you just make really the counterpart of, in terms of grocery shopping, I do not really know example right now, but I think, so if you're bad mooded, you buy too much and maybe bad stuff. What if you're good mooded? You may be also buying too much stuff because you feel like treating yourself or something. The first thing that comes to mind is the methods used by skilled salesmen to sell you stuff that you do not want. They get excited to the point that you lose control of your mind, and when they offer you the merchandise, you could overestimate its values and pay too much for it. Oh, that's true, because good salesmen know how to awake emotions in you, and these products where you just be like, oh, that's what I really wanted. This is just the problem solving key for my problem, and you're really hyped, and then you overlook certain things that might not be as good as they should be, or as they are, just as they are, and yeah, and so on. And get to the bird's eye view. And I don't know what this means. Have you heard the description that someone is about things? Well, this is also applicable in emotional intelligence. Maybe it is that what I said, I think, that you know what happens, so you're just really clear-minded, and there are quite no emotions in the game, and you know what you're doing. But let's see. Imagine if you could let go of your personality and watch yourself from above, like a bird who flies high above the ground and has the whole picture in sight. If you could let go of your narrow first-person vision and look at your life in general, how many more things would you be able to see and understand that way? That's totally true. A lot of times, I really don't see things because I'm thinking, or I'm bad mooded, or I'm good mooded, and so on. Even though you cannot actually look yourself from above, you can still develop an understanding of your own behavior. You should be aware of your emotions and thoughts as the situations comes to life. You should try to inject yourself between the trigger and the reaction in order to allow yourself to process the whole information and to look at things from above. The goal is to remind yourself of the actual feeling below all layers. For example, if you are a parent of a little boy and you want to serve them something nice for dinner, vegetables and meat, you notice that he does not want to eat them and starts spitting out the food on the floor that you just cleaned. You feel your wrath bubbling inside you. If you're ascend above the situation, though, you will just see a parent who is worried that his or her child should eat healthy and get enough vitamins. As I get it right, and if I'm not getting it right, please comment down below and tell me just about not letting this emotions get in the game, because they make everything seem more complicated than they are, and more frustrating, and they overdo everything. So I get out of this. But nevertheless, I really hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. Yes. I'm your host, Christopher. I'm a 17-year-old graphic design student from Austria, and really happy to serve you with this kind of medium I can give you. I really have to thank you for listening, and just follow me on everything if you want. More inspiration, more value, and more things I like to do. And for that now, I have to say goodbye, and really thank you. Thank you very much. Love you all.